All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the social media what blab. One day I'm going to get the right inflection in that question in there.
No, you're
The
not.
social media what blab. With me this week, we got a full house to start. So Gina from Keeler Gardens is with us.
Yay.
Mandy and Alexis. Mandy with
Here.
Northwest Team Building and Alexis with X3 Adventures. So welcome everybody. X37. What did I say? X30?
X3.
X3?
X37.
I just have one number in there.
Every time I see that, for some reason, it reminds me of George Lucas's THX numbers.
Awesome.
That's a good association.
Awesome.
I would take that.
I like that.
Yeah.
So welcome everyone. We are going to be talking. The topic this week is Say Cheese, Instagram basics. So we're going to start at the beginning of Instagram. We're going to take questions from anybody that's in the audience, and we're going to assume to start off with that whoever we're talking to knows basically they've heard of Instagram, they'd like to get on it, and then doing a walkthrough with whatever we need to do with some of the basics. And then if there are no questions, I'm going to open it up to all four of us on ways that we use Instagram first as users, because I think that anytime we're going to think about using any social media platform for any type of marketing, we need to fully understand the culture ourselves as users first and have fun with it. And then we can start talking about phase two of that, of being how do we use it as marketers for various things. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. Gary, if you have any questions, just type them in the chat. And if you have a burning question, I'm more than happy to kick one of these fine ladies out of the windows and we'll bring you in. I'll roll a die.
My echo.
Yeah.
Because of the echo.
Yeah. No.
I'm curious, since the four of us are pretty familiar with each other, I'm curious where Gary's coming from and why he's here too, since we have that luxury of small group.
So let's start with the easy question on a scale of 1 to 5, or let's say, Gary, are you currently using Instagram? That's a good old yes or no. And that be personally, are you currently using Instagram? Yes. Okay.
Yeah, all right.
And then are you interested in the long run of using Instagram as a business, as a social media outlet?
This is like stomp your foot once for yes, stomp your foot twice for no.
Bill is here. Hey, Bill.
Hi, Bill.
We'll get to gardening questions in a little bit, Bill. Anyways, our inside joke with Bill.
Okay.
So probably in the long term, but not at the moment. Okay, and then the last question I'm going to ask you, Gary, is on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being you just got on the platform yesterday, you're still trying to figure it out, to 5 being I've been using it for years, I know personally how to use Instagram. Where are you on a scale of 1 to 5, would you say, on personal knowledge of using Instagram for yourself? Don't worry about the business side. All right.
Hey.
Great.
All
So we may be
right.
jumping in the deep end. I do want to go over some basics just to start for the people that I know were not going to be able to be here that said they wanted to know some of the basics. So just going around and let's throw our different, I would start with the basics of Instagram is basically a social media platform where you get to share pictures. And as I'm talking, I'm going to encourage the three of you to throw your links into your Instagram account or your Instagram username so that we can share that out there. And Bill and Joe so wonderful with names here. Gary, encourage you to put yours out there too so we can all start following each other and see what each other are doing out there. So Instagram is basically a social media outlet that is just for pictures and video now. But I still go back to classically, I use it for pictures because that's what it was originally set up for. But it is competing with everybody else, just like we're doing right now, is live stream. So there are ways to do videos on Instagram. And the whole intention of it initially was in the moment, instant Instagram. So here's what I'm doing right now. Here's a picture of that. So that would be the basics of it. So now I'm going to throw it over to the three of you. Is how else do you see Instagram being used as, personally, what do you use it for? How do you use Instagram?
Well, I was using it actually for the video portion. I was doing a song, 15-second clip of some songs periodically, and also video for active things outside. So bees, butterflies, pollinators, movement, to try to capture the movement of what was going on outdoors. So I was using the video feature. I also use my integrated camera, my phone camera, not the Instagram app, to take the picture,
Yeah.
so that I can get some really zoomed in shots, some macro zoom shots of gardens and imagery and such like that.
Cool. And we'll go over some tools. I know that I use Snapseed and some other things. I should probably turn the ringers off.
I'm going to refresh because I'm actually losing some people, so I'll be right back. All right.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So
Yeah, I think I've turned off all my email notifications now. I apologize for the dinging earlier.
what's fun is when you guys hear the dinging from the computer coming over loud because it's integrated in. So, all right. Cool. I think I have everything muted now. So, all right. So how do the two of you use Instagram?
Maida, you want to go or you want me to?
I'll go because mine's simple. Right now, I'm a casual user. I, tend to post some work stuff, some life stuff outside of work. Although, as both of you know, my work and my life are very well integrated most days. So it's a combination of that for my personal account. I have some things that I'm working on for the near future to use it for business. And I really want to especially get into developing some specialized hashtags to use with Instagram and Twitter. But specifically, I think there are some places where there are really good photo ops that we really want to help get people directed into using those right hashtags, and so we can reuse those later and point to those.
Yeah, and we should probably take some time today talking about hashtags.
Yeah.
So, excellent. We have somebody coming in, and Ryan is calling in. Renee is here. Hey, Renee. Okay. Somebody's letting Ryan in. Good. Okay. Hey, Ryan. How's it going?
Ryan.
Hey.
So
Welcome in.
Welcome. So are you currently an Instagram user, or are you starting at the beginning, learning from the start? Where are you with Instagram?
Yeah, I've got Instagram.
You're on Instagram currently? Cool.
Yeah.
And how long have you been using Instagram?
Oh. I'm not sure. I've been on about 2 years now.
Okay. Very cool.
Cool.
Very cool. Yeah, and the goal of this blab and the social media what blab is, again, starting at the basics, but I appreciate all the experience in the room right now, because I think that we're able to answer a lot of questions, and with that experience, I'm sure that there's stuff that I'm going to learn from you guys today. So, Alexa, yeah.
Just really quickly, Ryan, did you have any specific reason why you decided, I need to be on this blab? Is there something that you wanted to add or ask in particular?
No?
Oh,
Nope. Just all right. Want to hang out and chat? Cool.
cool.
Yeah.
All right. So tell you what, because I want to keep the seats rotating because we got a lot of people here today. I want to ask you, Ryan, how do you use Instagram? And then we'll, after you answer, I'm going to rotate the seat to let some other people answer that question too. So how do you use it personally? What are the kind of things that you're taking pictures of?
I just like take pictures of myself when I get bored, and I like doing that.
Yeah. And that's one of the things.
You know, sitting down there, I'm so bored. I feel like taking a.
Very cool. Very cool. So, and that's one of the things that I think that we forget as marketers a lot of times when we switch over to that role, is that it is just a social outlet. And that's why I like starting here at the beginning. So Ryan, go for it.
I was going to say, I think that a lot of people do the I'm bored. What am I going to do? I'm going to pull the phone out of my pocket and take some pictures thing, whether that's pictures of yourself or pictures of the environment that you're in. And I think that a lot of times we get some really creative shots from that, and some fun shots that give those behind the scenes peeks into worlds. So I think that definitely having that, hey, what can I take a picture of attitude while doing this can contribute to the creativity.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, Ryan. I'm going to encourage you to stick around. I'm going to open the chair up for somebody else because I want to hear some other stories too of how other people are using Instagram. So thanks for jumping on, bud. I appreciate it. All right.
Okay.
All right. Cool.
Bye.
Bye. All right, and the seat is open. Alexis, why don't you tell us a little bit? And Mandy, my train of thought, I want to make sure that you got a chance to finish what you were saying about Instagram, and then Alexis, want to hear you. And again,
Yeah.
seats open for just how are people? Because again, like I said, there's people that couldn't be here today that are just trying to understand why they would even be on Instagram as an individual. So, where are we and who's up?
Mandy, you want to keep going?
I can. I'm not sure if it's on the thread that Ed has in mind, but Ed's also very allowed to tell me to shut up too, so that's fine. As somebody who enjoys photography and has been doing photography for like when I actually developed film in a lab, when there was actual film.
I'm sorry, what film? What's
Yes,
film?
film. Yes. Anybody who has smelled Fix and enjoyed that, oh man, you never forget it. But but I like that we're bound to square format. I think that it really lends itself to different styles of composition that we see, that we don't see other places. And I like the encouragement of all the hashtagging on Instagram to go there and be able to dive into a topic, audio only, dive into a topic and really, again, sort of assess why is this little square picture so significant, and what are the hashtags that belong with this, and what does it say to me, and what might it say to somebody else that I want them to take a look at this picture. So I think that all of those features of this platform really just make people very purposeful a lot of time with what and how they're posting, and I think that gives it a lot more power behind each one. So that's it. That's my little tangent there, Ed.
Oh, that's fine. Welcome, Vicky. Alexis, how are you using Instagram?
Mute.
There you go. Are
Well,
you back?
clearly I have dogs.
Yes.
So I take a lot of dog pictures. I'll just be clear. I take a lot of dog pictures. But I also have a personal account and I also have a business account.
Motherfucking trash.
Whoops.
So it's like, okay.
Okay.
And we all know that Mariah's not going
Okay. That
Well,
happens
that was
when you have a popular topic.
You know what? I just want to say it sounded like she was having a great conversation. It just wasn't this one.
Yeah. Sorry, Vicky. When you're done, let us know. All right, Alexis. So on the personal side, let's not go into the marketing side of things yet.
So we're focusing on the personal side. I'm partially a photographer, so I really enjoy just being able to do what Mandy was saying, is put it in a different.
Meanwhile, Dr. Hamilton
All right.
in the house with the chef and
That's okay.
Okay. So anyway,
I won't let anybody come. You know what? Here's what I'll do is I'll lock the seat until you're done talking, Alexis, and then we'll open the seat.
I promise I'm trying to listen, Alexis. I swear.
well, I'm trying to
Third time's a charm.
focus. It's fine.
Okay, dogs. Go with dogs on
I do
Instagram.
love dogs.
Dogstagram. Yes.
As I was prepping for this blab, I kind of went through my entire feed and I realized that I have a lot of nature photos, but clouds and sunsets and sunrises specifically. So, that's kind of my realm that I really get excited about taking pictures of.
And coffee, it looks like.
And what? And coffee?
And coffee.
Yeah, that too.
So this actually brings up, because what it looks like you're doing, I turn my screen share stuff off because it gets a little glitchy. But Mandy, what it looks like you're doing is you're going through Alexis's Instagram feed online right now, right?
Absolutely.
And so let's all, if you scroll up, Alexis's feed or Alexis's Instagram is up there. That's your work one. No, which one is your personal one? The Camp Girl one?
Camp Girl
Okay.
729. Here, I'll put
So
it.
if we go over there and look at that, one of the things that I want to kind of encourage is when looking at Instagram, especially from the beginning. So if I go through Alexis's feed here, how do I put this? we hear a lot of times in social media marketing of what story is being told.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we tell a story, especially when we're using it personally, whether we're conscious of it or not. So, for example, as you were just mentioning, Mandy, I see a lot of clouds. I see some architecture, right? I see some selfies in there. Kansas City, but it's and the Kansas City Royals logo, coffee, and that. But it really is giving me a bit of a story of who you are, Alexis. Right?
Yep.
And that's one of the things that I think that we need to have in the back of our mind when we make the jump over to the marketing side in the future. Then, is what story do we want to tell? As individuals, we're sharing stuff that's important to us, and it's just going to go out there. I think that as a business, we need to take that step back and think about that story. Because one of the quotes that I heard yesterday from Alice in Wonderland, which is one of my favorite quotes in facilitation and in life, is, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. So when we're doing something personal like that, we may not set out to tell a specific story, but there it is, right? In business, we might want to think about that story ahead of time of what we're going to be showing. But again, if you're thinking, when you hear that and people saying, oh, I need to tell a story with my business, this is what we're talking about. Go and look at your own personal things that you're doing on social media, and then you have a better idea of what that story looks like a little bit.
I also want to just put in, I teach a workshop through the library system in Kansas City of everyday photography, and we talk a lot about Instagram. But being the granddaughter and daughter of architects, I have been accused.
There we go.
There you go. You saw the architecture there. But I have been accused on numerous occasions of going out and only taking pictures of either the environment that I'm in or the buildings around me.
Yeah.
And my mom has accused me on several occasions, and accused my dad of it too, of how do I know you were actually there? So the idea of a selfie is empowering to me, because I always feel like I want to be in charge of what that picture looks like. And so handing my camera over to someone else to take a picture of me in that environment seems really posed and silly. And most of my posed pictures turn out like this. You don't want to see my wedding pictures, I promise.
Props to that face. That was beautiful.
But I think that part of it is, though, with the whole, and this is something I'm glad you brought this up too, is that I forget about some of the stereotypes of Instagram, because I've been on Instagram so long, and one of the things that I hear a lot of people say is, I don't want to be on Instagram. That's all duck faces and selfies. And again, there are some Instagram feeds you can follow that are going to be just selfies and duck faces.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
that's
totally.
part of their story. That's part of their story.
Yes.
In my
workshop, I always try to encourage people, if there is a story to tell by you being in that picture, then take that selfie.
Yeah.
If there's not a story to tell by putting yourself in that picture.
Late, Renee. It is not.
I'm sorry, Renee just totally.
You've got time to post a duck face picture. Go for it. Just go for it.
Well, but
maybe that should be our gift today. Is all of us doing duck face.
Oh, there we go.
See,
yes.
But if you look over, I don't know why they're doing this, and it's totally random. We have lost the Facebook and tweet that we had at the beginning, and we're now share the last 30 seconds. Which, when I've been trying to do that, it's random 30 seconds from the blab at some point. But if we get the tweet back, then we're all gonna have to do is get out our devices and just get the
3 duck faces. I got 2.
Yeah,
I got 2.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have 2. I just have 1.
So, anyways, but there's 2 people in our field, in the experiential field, that use the selfie, and it seems very natural, and it seems part of their story. Chris Ortiz is one. And you guys, I think, have heard my story that I was at ACCT talking about this exact point. It's not just selfies. And I put Chris Ortiz's live feed up on the screen behind me, and what does he post? A selfie of him out at the pool at the conference early.
But my point with selfies is that was telling a story. If he
Yes.
is out at the pool in that selfie, and then, the next selfie, he's, at ACCT this year, he could have been on top of a longhorn. And then the next selfie, he's in the middle of a workshop. Well, all of those tell a story. And the question is, what story do you want to tell?
Right.
Mhm.
And when I look at that story, it's Chris is here. Chris is here. Chris is
Uh-huh.
here.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying that in a negative way at all. I'm just saying that that's what the story
very
is. It's like a first
consistent,
person.
and that's how we know where Chris is. Sometimes is
It's
those,
like
those pictures that pop up on social media with his face over here in the corner and something cool in the background, and that's and we know that is how he puts himself out there, and I think that we all enjoy it, so it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Nina, thanks for joining us. Talking about just how we use Instagram to give people a better understanding of that aren't familiar with Instagram, some of the culture there and what each of us are doing personally with Instagram. So that's what we're talking about right now, and we'll get into some of the deeper stuff. So one of the things I was just looking at is I like taking pictures of the whiskeys I'm drinking. So I'm concerned that my story is turning into Ed's an alcoholic.
If it makes you feel any better, I've got a picture of 2 big, beautiful growlers on my Instagram feed. So,
Yeah.
and I believe that at least one of my pictures I tagged Beerstagram. So, yeah.
Let's move into that. And actually, Renee, I'm going to invite you in because I was going to mention that I learned this from you. So, would you be willing to come in and talk about the magic number of hashtags on Instagram?
Oh, that would be great. I know we got tons of questions on that, so that would be a great thing to talk about.
I'd love to hear that too.
Because
I have my own opinion, but go for it.
Yeah. So again, more than welcome to jump in. And again, I'm putting the pressure on her because she was actually invited me. That was the first time I was ever on Blab, as I was watching her Blab, and she told me just get in here. So encouraging her to do that today. Okay. Well, if you can't jump in, that is fine too. Can you type the magic number in? And she may be running to get a webcam and other things like that. Oh, whoops.
In out. Just kidding. Didn't mean it.
Didn't mean it. Ask again. We didn't mean to kick you out. Well, let me know if you want to jump in, Renee. She's busy doing the duck face picture.
She's making sure she gets that selfie exactly right. Great.
But while we are waiting for Renee, Nina, if you want to jump in, please, you can jump in too. And if you have a take on the hashtag or want to tell us how you use Instagram personally, we did not mean to kick you out of the seat if that was one of us. So, all right. Well, here is the magic number that Renee had mentioned to me, and I've tried it. And the magic number she had was 11. And I'm going to hold off a little
higher
bit
than
more
I expected.
on some technique just in case she can jump in. But and here's the blessing and a curse with that is that part of that is from regardless whether you're a marketer, if you're just saying I want my pictures in front of more people. Mandy, you mentioned some of the photography about it. I like to consider myself an amateur photographer too, and I want to get my pictures out in front of more people. So one way I can do that is hashtags. Taking a step back, hashtag, like on many platforms on Instagram, does 2 things. Number one, it gives your image or your video a topic that people can find. And the way you search it is anywhere on Instagram where you see that hashtag, you can click it and it will bring up 2 things on your phone or on the mobile device. Because remember, Instagram it's not like Twitter where we can go and interact online. I cannot post on Instagram's website a picture for today. I have to actually do it through the app on the phone. I can go all of our profiles. You can go and see what we've posted, but you cannot post. You can only do that through a mobile device with the app. So when you click on the hashtag, it brings up a most popular, and it shows you, I think it's 6 if they're still doing it, how I saw it last time when I last checked. And then underneath it, it shows all of the pictures most recent that have used that hashtag. So for example, if I click over here, I'm clicking on Alexis's feed. She did not use a hashtag on the pup. Let me get one you have a hashtag. Here we go. So and you're using the other technique. So I'm trying to find a hashtag that I can click on here quickly. So on one of your pictures of the blood red moon, right? You
Yes.
have LuxMig7. When I click on that, even in Instagram, it'll take me to all the other people that have used that same hashtag. Right? So that's
Yeah,
one way
and
of just
the-
found.
The
on-
camera that I used.
And you know what? I had no idea until I clicked on it. I was about to say, and I'm going to guess that this hashtag has to do with the camera that you were using. Okay, so that's why we use hashtags, is not to be annoying, but to basically say that this is what it's about. Now, the other technique, and again, Renee, jump on at any point or yell, no, you're saying it wrong, but this is what I learned from you on this, is that in your description, what works nicely is to put 3 hashtags in, and then in the first comment, you put the other 8. And what that does is allows you not to gump up people's feeds. So again, the basics are the feed on Instagram is as I'm scrolling and I see all the people I follow. And anybody's welcome to correct me if I'm wrong, but Instagram has not moved to a logarithm yet. That eliminates. So I think they are
No.
barely one, because we know that Twitter's going that way and has started rolling that out a little bit. But Instagram is still that last platform out there that is,
Yep.
if I follow somebody, I'm going to see what they post. It may
Mhm.
take me a while. If I'm following 300 people, it's going to take me a while to get there, but I will see it. So
Mhm.
one of the things that gets annoying to me of just personally following people, I'm back. I usually put one hashtag. If there are in the description, I usually, yep, that's exactly what I was saying. And again, jump in and say that live if you want.
Hint,
But
hint.
I like giving credit where credit is due, and if
Yeah,
that
I
person
know
can
you
jump
do.
on and
You're
actually say it.
very good at that.
So the okay, that's fine. That's fine. I know that I've been in that situation too. But yeah, so that way when I'm going through, I can't stand it when all of a sudden I'm getting to something and there's a couple, and this also gets to that next step. If we're thinking about marketing, look and see who we're following that is a business. What are they doing that we like? They're doing something because we're following them.
Yeah.
Right? And one of the things that gets me to boot a business out of my feed so quickly on Instagram is when they're putting like 35 hashtags in there, because now you are interrupting my Instagram feed. And I have to scroll through all of this. So if you put them all in that comment, then it's going to compress it down and I don't see it. But if I'm looking for the hashtag, I'm still going to find it because it's attached to that picture.
I have a question.
So again, yeah. Yes.
On Android, we actually have to like tap the comment now. I mean the caption to get it to expand.
Okay, I'm opening
Like
up
there's
Instagram right now. Yeah.
There's a more option.
Right.
So if you
Not
have a
on
long,
Android. Let me see if Apple's doing that.
yeah.
Or
If,
Windows.
so I'll try to show it to you on the video here.
Okay.
So like this one, she has a long caption here,
Mhm.
and if I click it, it expands
It
it.
expands it. And you're still underneath the picture, right? I'm
Yeah.
trying to find one also like that. So what I like is, so here's Andrew Knapp, and I recommend following this guy. He has this wonderful dog named Momo, and what he posts is
I love
find Momo.
dogs.
His hashtag is find Momo. So he's always taking pictures of Momo, his dog. He actually has a book that he created off of his Instagram feed, but about 75% of his photos are Momo is hidden somewhere in a picture. So maybe it's a picture of, a pickup truck in a forest, and if you look closely, you can see Momo's head popping out of the back window of it. So it's like a Where's Waldo?
Where's Momo?
But one of the things that he does is he has this really nice description there, and then when I see more, I get the description, and again, the comments are compacted underneath it. So if he just does one line of description, 3 hashtags, and then a comment that has all of the hashtags in it, it still might gump up my feed because it's showing me that first comment.
Yeah.
But what if you're typing a lot of text in that first comment with description? Yep, it keeps it on the Android. And you're checking, Mandy, to see if that works the same on iPhone, on iOS, right?
Yeah, if it is long, there is a see more option.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
I would make the and again, it's part of this goes back to what we were talking about with Twitter. Twitter is suggesting that you only use 2 hashtags in what you post and keep it relevant, keep it to the point. Well, Instagram, tell us what the picture is about. If you want to tell a little story, that's fine. It gives us those 3 lines. We can expand it to see more,
Yep.
but that's our choice. Be upfront. Tell us what it is. And again, even on personal, right? I'm not even talking so much, but this is something that transfers over to the marketing side of things. So, and and then have those hashtags in there so that you can be discovered. And that was totally, so what I did was the first time I did that, when Renee told me about that, I did that with one of my, I think it was a post of my Carnival wagon, and I had my whiskeys up front.
Yeah, hold
And-
on. A post of your what?
Yeah.
I said that right? Carnival wagon? Carnival wagon. Carnival with a B. I'll
Okay.
find the picture and show it. It's a
Thank you.
drinks trolley. It's a drinks trolley.
I mean, that's what I would guess, but I don't think I've ever heard that word out of your mouth before. So I hope you hashtagged that into the picture, because if
Yeah.
you haven't, I think that you should.
Definitely.
I'm
Just
looking for
saying.
the picture in my feed now to see if I did it. And I actually, that's what Gina called it. It's her wagon from before we were married, and that's what she called it. But I've heard some radio personalities in Chicago call it that also. So I don't know if that's just a
It could be a Chicago thing.
thing
Yeah.
or others. So anyways, when first thing I found was it took me forever to come up with 11 hashtags.
Oh, I
I'm
can
gonna,
hashtag with the
Because I-
best of them.
Uh-huh.
there's
If you
the
go
picture I'm
over
looking
to
at.
my other one, if you
Let's
go over
see.
to my X37 account, I am a hashtag queen. I hadn't
So-
heard the 11, but I'm interested to find out if I hang out around 11 or if I hang out around more.
And supposedly,
I'm-
and Renee, did you get that from, if I remember correctly, did you get that from Sue B. Zimmerman? Is that where you heard that from? Sue B. Zimmerman, if I'm getting all my experts right, is the Instagram queen. So she's on Blab. She is on Instagram, of course. So if you go anywhere and just Google Sue B. Zimmerman, if you want the in-depth knowledge on Instagram, that is the expert in the field to follow. So one of the things that I found with the 11 though is that and again, I just have experiential ed. It's mostly just people in our field that's following me. And I hashtagged 4 roses with this. I hashtagged a small batch bourbon. And I found that I found some companies that started following me. Like I have 3 whiskey companies that now follow me on Instagram.
Yep.
And some other things. I guess it's not a full Carnival wagon. I did go in for those close up, but I also got for me, the benchmark of just an individual user is I hit the magic number where it doesn't say who liked it, and I had 12 likes.
Hey.
So just as an individual user, to me, that's awesome. I know there's some people, when we were talking about this again with Twitter, like, hey, Ed, you only have like 180 people following you on Twitter. Well, that's because I'm not trying to be a social media marketing expert. Twitter
Yes.
is not my main forte. I use it to communicate with people in Blab, and I help other people get there with it. But at the same time, I'm not a Twitter user, so it's not going to be the same thing. I'm talking about my experiential ed account. Yay!
All right. Renee's
All
calling
right.
in. Yeah, and I'm right there with you as far as being the casual user. I like to be able to interact with all of these things and have fun with them. And also, a lot of us have people that we love all over the world, and it's a good way to stay connected. And so to be using it purposefully for that is very different than the marketing end. Hi, Renee.
Hi.
Hey, Renee.
I've been.
I
Did you get
found it a little bit different to use as a business tool.
Yeah.
And I'm on YouTube as well. And so we've been pushing our YouTube episodes onto, or, promoting them through Instagram as well. Because we have a lot more followers through Instagram than we do YouTube at this point. And so trying to figure out, do I post a picture, like the cover picture, or do I post the, a little clip from it or whatever. So that's kind of what we've been trying to figure out as a business. So
I want to come back to that. I want to come back to that concept because I want to ask the three of you your opinion on that in just a second. So, Renee, welcome to my lab.
Yay!
I was eating a salad, and all of a sudden I get this notification you're doing a blab about Instagram. I'm like, I got that. So, yes, lots of interesting things, but I've been like racing around here trying to do chores and stuff. But
no, I hear you.
Hashtag
So,
life.
yeah. So Renee has an awesome lab on Friday mornings. I'm going to plug you for a second here. And
we can't do it this Friday.
oh, we're not doing, okay, not this Friday. That's fine. But go and follow everybody here, but follow Renee up there. On usually it's Friday mornings and much more in depth than the stuff that I'm talking about. So again, if you are, a lot of people here today are already using Instagram. And I've learned a lot over the past couple months on a lot of different social media from Renee on her blab. So I encourage everybody to follow her and make sure that you're tuning in for hers too.
I
So,
love blabs.
cool.
Isn't it just the coolest thing ever?
Oh, absolutely.
Love it. It's
Absolutely.
like the ultimate social media platform.
Yeah. It put the social back in social media.
Right.
Yeah.
I know
So.
Ed became obsessed rather quickly, which is, you know,
We did.
that's saying something given how his usual level of social media obsession runs, which is high. I mean, Blab really, you know, hit it out of the park there.
You know what?
Yeah.
What intrigues me, one of the many things, is how I am not an early adopter usually, but when it comes to live streaming video, especially Blab, and Facebook Live too, you know, I would say I'm like, oh, I got to jump in. I got to try this, and it's pretty cool. I'm not a huge fan of Periscope.
Mm-mm.
I've been doing
Me
Periscope, the Periscope challenge the past 10 days, and it's a great platform. It just may not be for me.
Yeah,
I've kind of felt that way too.
I think that like one of the things that we were talking about using it for and did use it for, Renee, recently was when we were all at the conference down in Texas, we did Periscope some sessions. And so to give that window into the world for the people that couldn't be there, that was a really fun application for us to use it.
Yeah.
But I think really I can only see myself using it very specifically like that rather than being one of those constant users.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, before I change the topic over to Periscope, because I'm grabbing some people off of Blab. So here's my question for you guys. Looking at Instagram as a user, so try not to be in the marketer's side of the brain at the moment. When we're going through your feed and you see somebody post, and I'm guilty, I don't want to say guilty because I'm trying to figure out if it works or not, but with what you were mentioning, Alexis, so I'm going through my feed and I see, hey, here's our YouTube channel. I'm going through my feed and I see Ed Kaplan posted, hey, I have a blab tomorrow. When you guys see that cross promotion in as an individual user, what is your reaction?
My personal reaction is good. Unless it's Periscope, and then I'm like, I don't really care. Not going to Periscope. But I have my own reasons for not liking Periscope. Most of it has to do with the fact that I can't figure out how to shut up the stupid notifications completely.
So in general, what you're saying is that if you see the cross promotion, somebody that you're following on Instagram, and they're saying that, hey, join me on this other platform, you're okay with that?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. And maybe that's because that's how I also use it.
That's why I'm saying trying to get in the user side of things.
Yeah, well, and we try really hard. We've just started, for my business, we've just started a hashtag, a daily hashtag. So every Monday we have Made on Mondays, and Tuesdays is Travel Tuesdays, and it's about travel tips about London and Europe, where my business partner is. And so each day is a different hashtag, and it's really helped us have a lot more fun with being a little bit more concentrated on what we're going to post. And we've brought in a couple of people. I mean, we just started it like a week and a half ago. So, but we've brought some interest into what we're doing with some other people. And so we've posted or reposted their stuff, which is kind of cool. and that's been from other platforms as well. So.
Gotcha.
I would say in general, if it's something that's already grabbing me, then I would be more inclined to bounce over to that other platform and say, well, let's see if they have more good stuff there. Whether or not I stay at that platform and potentially follow them there is going to be dictated on how well they're also managing that, or how well that person is also maintaining that account. But I think it's just like anything else. If there's a hook, essentially, that grabs somebody, they're going to be more inclined to want to see more. And if not, if it's just like, oh, that's nice, then less likely. And I really think that's probably on just a personal basis, more so than I think a trend overall. That would be my opinion.
I would agree. And I think it's really hard for me to not use that side of my brain, Ed.
I know.
I mean, like, 'cause it's always on. I always, like, that's the one thing I preach to everybody is constantly have your eyes and ears open, because opportunities for great content are everywhere. You just have to be listening and looking. And so when I see someone else's post just casually, I kind of look at it like, oh, that's an idea I never thought of using, or oh, I could try that, or I wonder how that's working for them. And so I can't say that I look at it from just your average user.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do that.
Well, to me, hearing all of you talk about it, I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier for story. There's an individual I follow on Instagram, and the only thing that I ever see him post is about his blabs. But I'm continuing to follow him because I want to know when his blabs are, because blab does not have the best way of communicating that out. But I go back to, and Mandy's heard me complain about this many times, when I'm on Facebook and somebody is pushing their Twitter feed, and actually it's more the other way. When I'm on Twitter and I see the first 100 characters of a post and then it says ... FB/whatever, it makes me want to unfollow them, because it's like, well, I'll go over and follow you on Facebook. And so I had never really thought about the question until we were just talking about it. But is Instagram such a, with images, more of such a niche kind of platform that it's almost more socially acceptable to throw some of that cross promotion in there to say, by the way, I can't post an hour-long video over here. Here's our YouTube channel.
Well, the other thing with this too to consider, it's just like any other social media platform. Try it and see if it works for who's following you. Yeah. Start doing some of that stuff, and if you get a good reaction, then keep doing it. And if you're getting no reaction, then stop it, cut it out, try something else. You know, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm interested in the fact that you found someone else who posts about trying to advertise their blab on Instagram, because I do that, and I never saw anybody else do that. But I do it for every Friday's blab, but I don't only post that.
Right.
It's
you
about
post some other
1/3
stuff too.
of what I end up posting. But the thing is that I get more hearts on those posts where I'm promoting blab by far. I mean, like, I've had 94 for one of them.
Wow.
And they never look any different. Like, the only difference is the subject of what we're going to talk about that week. But I would be shocked if I ever got anybody to actually cross over. So what's the point? I don't care if I have 94. No one's coming to the party.
And I agree with some of that, because I've done it a couple times for my blab. And again, going back to the story that I'm trying to tell on my Instagram account is more of my personal, just me out in the world. And so I started looking, and I'm not posting as much as possible. And I started getting back-to-back blab posts. And I don't want that to be my only part of my story. And I found that people that weren't on blab were definitely going, oh, that sounds cool. They're not here. And so I part of me wonders, though, is that it's almost like Facebook now has on events I'm interested in going, right?
Yeah.
So that I can convey the message that I think what you're talking about, or this event is awesome, even though I might not be able to get there. And I'm wondering if that's kind of what we're seeing on Instagram with that cross promotion of like, yeah, that's awesome. Knock yourself out. I'm not going over to Blab, but that is wonderful. Somebody should be talking about that. Next
I
picture,
support
please.
you. I support you, my friend who is doing this very cool thing. I won't show up, but I think it's fabulous.
But my Instagram
Right on.
bio now has my Blab channel. So if you look, I think that's what I have in there is from my website. I took it off my blog and my website because I'm not really doing anything with it other than reposting these blabs over there. So I just have blab.im/experiential ed as my link at this point, because if you want to find me and know what's going on, this is pretty much the main thing that I'm doing and I'm on right now. But again, I don't know if that's a marketing. That's probably a little bit more marketing than personal, because if I truly wanted to do something more personal with it, if I'm truly using it personally, what website am I even going to send somebody to? Because I'm like, all right, I'll send them to my photography blog. Well, that's the marketing side of it then. And I have a Facebook or Instagram. DOF Images is my photography site that goes to my photography blog. So yeah, this is why I want to start it. I started the conversation with personally, because then when we start moving into the marketing side, especially for those of you that are watching the replay that can't necessarily ask questions, is we start jumping in the deep end of the pool, especially for those that have not thought about marketing Instagram. So that's why I'm saying, let's talk about those hashtags. Let's talk about slow cross promotion. Let's talk about story. And if you can do these things as an individual, then when you start coming over to try and figure out how to market this, I think those are your training wheels, so to speak. You've got a little bit of a background to do this. And then go over and watch Renee's blab that she did already on Instagram to really get more of those tips on marketing. So let me look at my notes here. We talked about hashtags, we talked about stories, and we're just talking about pushing other medias to Instagram. So well, those were the main things that had come up that I had wanted to make sure to talk about. So questions from people, or you guys comments on moving more into the marketing side of things to consider. Okay, great. I've got Instagram. I know how to use it. I've set up my business. Now what do I do? For that person that just is starting on Instagram.
Well, you want to go or you want me to go? You pick.
You go.
Okay. And mine can be short, but in general, anytime anybody starts posting pictures for marketing purposes and you're starting to delve into that whole business side of things, I always encourage everyone to, until you know that you have a trained eye for what your picture is emoting as far as a brand, take a step back, put the hat on of the other people who are going to be looking at this picture and really try and get their perspective as far as what this picture is telling them. Don't just post a cool picture because you have a connection to something and it's cool, so you want to put it out there. Really be purposeful in the photos that you're choosing and think about how it comes across to all of those different people, your clients, your individual users, your business partners, and really try and see it through their lens. So that's my number one tip is put on a few different hats and evaluate what you're putting out there.
That's good.
I think it also goes back to this storytelling of what story are you telling?
Yeah.
Is it just so in our industry we work with a lot of safety equipment. Are we only telling the story of safety? Are we only telling the story of fun? Are we only telling the story of pretty plants in our environment? Or do we need to be telling the story of all of those topics and rotating through those topics? Do we need to be telling the story of someone getting engaged on the zip line? Things like that.
Always tell that story.
But at the same time, do we want to put 16 pictures of that? Or do we want to put 1 or 2? Mm-hmm. So I think thinking through the story that you're trying to tell, which this is one of the reasons I love having this conversation in the workshops that I'm doing at the libraries, because I love pulling in the
I
fact
see what you did there.
that we're actually telling a story, but we're just doing it visually. So what story are you telling as a business visually? It doesn't have to be graphic design. It has, in this case, we're talking about photography.
Mhm.
Right. Very cool.
Yeah, that's a deep question.
Sorry. We're facilitators. We ask deep questions.
That's what we
Sorry.
do, man. That's what we do.
Purposeful.
Yes.
Most of the time, except when we do asinine things for no reason other than it sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
Then we're good.
Well, I guess the thing is that when it comes to Instagram, I try not to promote myself as the Instagram expert, because I don't feel like I'm an Instagram expert. I've been on since like June, you know, and to me it's just a constant experiment. And there's a few things that I try to always do, like include at least one emoji and use the 11 hashtags, you know, but my challenge is that I can get a lot of people to like and comment my Instagram posts, but they're not my ideal client.
Mhm.
There are other people who do what I do. And I'm like, that's great. You know, thanks for the like, you know, but it doesn't, like, so I feel like sometimes it seems to be a little bit of a waste of time, but it also depends on your business. If you have a really visual business, you're in photography or you have some sort of physical product, I think it's great. You know, if you live in a community where there's a hashtag that people are searching, go for it, you know. But that doesn't seem to be the case with where I'm at. And, you know, it's really hard to put together a visual that's for an intangible, you know, especially like the people who are literally paying me money. You know, there's a lot of people that want my free advice, but there's not as many people actually writing a check. And the people who are writing me a check don't even have an Instagram account.
Yeah.
You know, they
I just
barely,
think it'd be a good idea.
you know, so I feel like I need to represent myself there. But what I actually use it for more than anything is hopefully to drive people to Blab, not because I'm going to try and sell them something on Blab, but because live streaming is where it's at. I love Blab. Blab is where I build relationships, you know, that are like the most meaningful, you know, like Ed, I have never met you in person, but 6 months ago we met on Blab. Right. You know, now you show up practically every week, and here I am on your Blab. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I would rather have 100 amazing connections through social media than 100,000 that won't remember me if I disappear a week later.
Yeah.
I would only like to challenge that idea because of Instagram in Kansas City. Because we have a huge Instagram meetup quarterly. And like this last one a couple of weeks ago, we literally had 110 people.
Awesome.
Which a few, I think they started them, I think they said they started them 2 years ago. And the first one had 13 people. And the first one I went to, which was probably this time last year, it was, I think there were maybe 40 people there, and now we have 110. And I've become friends with people in my city that I would have never met before because of it. And so I am all excited about Instagram because of the community in Kansas City that is built up around it. And because of that, I'm actually about to start a YouTube meetup because I know that there are Kansas City YouTubers, but it's hard to search on YouTube for Kansas City other than, hey, I went through and I went to Worlds of Fun and I went to a Royals game. Yay, Royals. So there's a lot of that. But so I love the fact that Instagram has given me that outlet to be able to meet people that I would not have met before. And I really enjoy that.
Yeah, and we have Insta meets in Chicago too, and I've just not been brave enough to go out there because I'm just intimidated. You know, as being an amateur photographer and truly amateur, like self-taught, things like that. It's a little daunting when I hear like we had 1,000 people in Chicago that showed up. But the point being that on any of these, that's one of the reasons that we love Blab is that because it is the here and now. It's the four of us like talking right now. It's not intimidating. But there are other outlets that do it. Like I've never heard of a Twitter meetup, but who knows? Maybe I have heard people that realize that they're in the same location. I wanted to get over to the question here that Alma put in. So in terms of hashtags, I use what is popular and relevant to my business, and I incorporate 3 particular hashtags that are specific to my business. Do we know what it would take for those hashtags to become more relevant? So, sorry, Renee, what was it?
So
I said time.
Yeah, I think that's a big
and use. Time and use.
I would say use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to get people consistently using those as much as possible to get that really firmly connected with your identity and your brand. And that's a lot of work, not a lot of work, but that's consistent work on your part to make sure that people know, hey, this is what I would like you to use for this. And that can be done a lot of different ways.
Yeah, I think you putting it out there in more places than just Instagram.
Yes.
Because if you're like me, I have the tendency to absolutely 100% just ignore that sidebar of Facebook ads. And I have no idea. You could ask me with a gun to my head what that last ad said. I'll have no idea because I just plain old ignore them. I'm sure that there are people who also ignore hashtags, but if you have it on your shirt when you're out in public, if you have it on your website, you have it as your cover photo on Instagram, on Twitter and Facebook and any place. If you splash that hashtag everywhere and use it consistently, then I think that would, I've seen that happen where
the clarifying, use this is absolutely important. And everybody they'll generally use whatever you tell them to use as long as you tell them to use it. And that's very normal. Like, because if people are wanting to post about you or their experience with you, they obviously want to cultivate some sort of a connection or celebrate some sort of a connection with you. And if you're essentially saying, yeah, we're into this too, use our hashtag, then it's like, okay, great. Everybody's in.
Now, if you're going to do that though, 2 things that I would say is monitor the hashtag.
Yes.
And not from I hear it all the time said on Blab when hashtag comes up, and I think I don't remember who said it most recently, but you can't copyright a hashtag, but you can dominate a hashtag. And I think it was Joel Comm that said that yesterday on an Anchor Wave. Somebody was asking about that, but same thing. If I tell everybody use, like for this Blab, I always use the hashtag SMW for social media and for my experiential stuff, I always use XPED for experiential ed. Now, I'm not very good at reminding people. We will mention later, Graham. I want to mention tools before we get off the Blab today, so I'll make a note of that, circle it here. But the saying on hashtags for a second is that if I'm going to now tell everybody, hey, you are on SMW today, social media make sure to hashtag that, then I need to reinforce that behavior. The psychologist may be coming out, right? So I need to have Hootsuite or just going into whatever platform that uses hashtags and search that hashtag and like that tweet, like that photo, like that post. Otherwise, why did I bother telling people to do it? And so when we talk about at challenge courses and zipline canopy tours, put up your hashtag everywhere. Hey, do this, but it's so that I, as the manager of this course or the marketing manager of this course, can now go online, find all those, and interact with you. And to the point that Mandy and I were talking about at the conference, if there's something I'm not liking that I'm seeing, not so much to, hey, get that down because I might not have a say on that, but now I've got the feedback to go to my staff and say, what were you doing? Look at this picture that somebody put up online. There's a lot of different reasons, but if you can dominate your own hashtag, then you create, for example, Joe Com uses do good stuff. Anybody that puts that hashtag with something, I'm going to expect them referencing his message. And you know what? 99% of the time that hashtag is used is with him, but it's a way I can go on any platform and see what does Joel post on here because that's his hashtag. Even though he doesn't quote unquote own it, copyright it, it's a way that he dominates that. And I think that we can do that in any field with anything that we're doing. But we have to use it consistently, and we have to, if we want other people to use it, we have to encourage them to use it, and then we have to check to see if they're using it. So. All right. Let's move over to the last thing to talk about because we are moving into over an hour here, and let's talk about tools really quickly. Matt, I'm guessing Matt's behind GT Challenge, but it might be somebody over there talking about later.
I already said hi, Matt, whoever it is. I guess they're going to be called Matt today. I apologize if that's not correct. Lord, I apologize.
So do any of you use Latergram?
No.
I don't even know what it is.
Okay. So at this point, Matt, do you want to, we'll open up a seat. You want to come up?
You know what? I'm going to hop off because I got to call a client, but it was great chatting with you guys. Nice
Thank
to meet
you so much for joining us, Renee.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to see you, Renee.
Have a good day.
Okay.
Thanks for joining. You too.
All right.
So Matt doesn't have a camera or sound.
That's okay. I know enough, and you can either give me props if I'm on the right page or not, or somebody else that uses Latergram, please come in. My understanding of Latergram is that it is an app for iOS that basically what you can do is, so give me a why or no on this. Okay, so this is what I think I know about it is number one, can you schedule a post for later with Latergram? Give me a Y or N on that. Yes, that's what I thought it was. Now, but here's my next question for you is, does posting through a third party violate the terms of agreement with Instagram?
Oh.
Can you give me an IDK if that unknown? So that's one of the things that I'm trying to research right now because I've heard of there were some other apps out there that I wanted to look to be able to schedule. And the one that I heard was somebody had told me that Hootsuite, by scheduling through Hootsuite, they were getting, and again, this is rumor. So again, this is why I'm asking some of these questions, is that some people were having their Instagram accounts suspended because they were posting through Hootsuite. And what I had heard, rumor, was that because Instagram wants to be in the moment. Now, what I say with it is read the whole thing if you're concerned about it at all. My thing is that there are people that I follow that are photographers and they hashtag Latergram, which what they are telling me is I'm going against the culture of Instagram, but I'm using hashtag Latergram so that you know that this happened before, right?
Yeah.
Algorithm does lower the post value if via Hootsuite, but that seems to have changed and it's not allowed. Yeah, again, so I would look into it. So it is a great tool if you are on the go and you don't have time. Like, for example, I'm out in the field doing training. I might have time to snap a picture, but I don't have time to sit there and come up with 11 hashtags and do it. So what I do is I put it, Gina was mentioning this, and again, Gina, if you can get back on the blab, if technology will let you. I know that when you were posting with that you did a lot of posting later on with that. Okay. So yay, let's see if she can get back in here. Because I think that just, I'm going to mute myself. I'm going to talk really loud.
Can you hear Ed?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you ask? I'm sorry, I don't have video, but I can answer the question. What's the question, Ed?
I'm going to have to come back to that comment. We're talking about Latergram. You got to take my headphones off.
Latergram.
So talking about Latergram, and one of the things is it is an app that you can utilize in order to post later, but you don't need an app for that. What I'd like, you mentioned this earlier on, about making sure that people understand you can take a picture on your camera.
Oh, okay. So Instagram, when you open the app, gives you the opportunity to take a picture, mess with it, post it. But it also lets you choose from your phone library, your images library on your phone. So you could be at a garden, that's me because I'm in gardens. You can be anywhere at any given time and take 8 pictures. Post one to Instagram at that moment, and then 10 minutes later, post a second one, and then a half an hour later, post a third one, and then tomorrow, post a fourth one. So instead of scheduling it for later, you'd have to remember, but you've got the images on your phone, and that's what I do. I'll often, if I'm at an impressive show or an impressive event, I'll take 6 or 8 images, and I'll use them throughout the week. So does that answer your question?
Yeah.
I do that too, Gina. I also, there are times that I'm out running around Kansas City or just exploring wherever I am, and I'm alone, and I don't necessarily want to broadcast to the world where I am, but I'm collecting amazing photos, and so I wait until I get home or back to wherever I'm going, and then I post them. I also
that's great.
I also am not real comfortable with posting things of when of being out and about when I am having, when my husband's not at home either.
Right.
And so I just don't want to broadcast it to the world that nobody's at my house.
That's a tough one when I'm visiting sites or on, at conferences, all the imagery and all the blabs and all the live feed is coming from obviously not Chicago because, it's winter here and it's, flowers there.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a good point. There's a limit, you have to balance it with your own personal safety and, your personal privacy with social being out there socially.
But this goes back to the beginning of some of the, my mic back on, sorry. Back to the beginning with some of the things that we were talking about is that how do you use any social media outlet as an individual? And that goes across any platform is just safety. I know that, like, for example, on Periscope, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to share my location. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not familiar. It's an open thing. And even if I don't share, because I realized that it was like, here's my house I'm Periscoping from right now.
Yeah.
And here's all the cool things in my house. If you're interested in looking for a rare R2-D2 figure, now you know where to.
Yeah.
I give a certain amount of trust. But the other thing is, like, when we go out to dinner with our neighbors, one of the things they've always said is tag one of us, but not both of us. And again, that moves into general safety. But this, now going back to posting later, I think that it is perfectly fine. I find the stories and the people that I follow and the culture that I'm involved on Instagram is people are okay with that. When I started doing that, I always tagged Latergram to let people know that this is not from today. And then I realized the people that are following me could care less when I'm posting that. There are, now if I went...
I agree with that, actually. That if you're doing something, if you have a picture and it's from yesterday, it's not that big a deal. Now, I personally feel like if it's the middle of winter and I know you're in Chicago and you're putting up something from your garden from last summer, not Instagram, but then people will say, here's an image from my garden last summer. I've been missing it. Okay, fine. But
that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Because you're missing it
now. Right. And it's a memory and whatever. That's fine. But I personally am leery about taking images like today and posting them, let's say, in 6 weeks or 4 weeks. Within a week, I'm okay with that. But too far off that time frame doesn't feel like Instagram to me. Then it feels like it's a diary or or it's Pinterest. Really, is more of what it is. So
I've been a little bit quiet because I was looking up the terms of use of Instagram, which also referred me to the community guidelines. But really quickly, within the terms of use under item 8, if you would like to look it up, there's this whole section about there may be links from the service or from communications, blah, blah, blah. And it says you're in all caps, this one line of all caps about third-party services is your correspondence and business dealings with third parties found through the service are solely between you and the third party. And it has some other stuff in there just in general, like, hey, if you're using some sort of other service, it's on you. It does also have on item 10, we prohibit crawling, scraping, caching, or otherwise accessing any content on the service via automated means, which is a little bit different. It's sort of reverse.
I think that third party thing is referring though to if you see somebody selling something and you bought it from them and you don't like it, don't come complaining to Instagram.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So, but I could see the scraping and the other things. It's just like I was on a MailChimp. David Vaughn was the other night talking about how MailChimp changed their terms of service and everybody was up in arms in it. But again, terms of service are very interesting. And it's almost like this is their CYA on their side. So I could see how they could say, hey, you're using Hootsuite, you're trying to mine for data, you're trying to do things, you know, and then getting kicked off for that. So thank you for looking that up because, and again, I encourage everybody to read terms of service if you're at all curious or concerned, because we're not lawyers, nor do we play them on Blabber TV or anywhere.
Sometimes we might. Just overall looking through the language, I mean, that one sentence, even though I think you're right, it was speaking more to that segment. The tone of all of their terms of use is definitely like, look, if you have something else you're using with this, it's on you, we're out.
Yeah.
Now the community guidelines are, just to give some bullet points, share only the photos and videos that you've taken or have the right to share. Post photos and videos that are appropriate for a diverse audience. Foster meaningful and genuine interactions. Follow the law. Respect other members of the Instagram community. Maintain our supportive environment by not glorifying self-injury, and be thoughtful when posting newsworthy events. And they go into further descriptions on each of those, but I'm not seeing anything jump out at me that says it has to be now. So,
can you throw the links to those that you're reading in the side, just in case anybody wants? Because sometimes they're a little buried in sites and small print. So thank you. So I think we're going to start wrapping. Oh, there was one other tool that I love to use. I use, I just blanked out, Snapseed. And again, one of the things that we didn't spend any time talking about today is the filters and things like that on Instagram. And to me, that's part of your story. If you look at the pictures in my story, you'll see that they have very high intensity in colors. I do some black and white. And that's because I'm a photographer at heart, and I'm trying to do some things that I might be able to do on a 35 millimeter camera and playing with that. And I do that all through Snapseed. And I was introduced to Snapseed years ago when I first got on the platform, and it was way too complicated for me. And I saw a photographer speak, and I saw the pictures they were taking, and kind of jumped in and just played around with it. And I love it. It's just a post-processing. So I take a picture with my camera, I go into Snapseed, I play with all the options until I have a picture I like, I save it to my phone, and then I repost it up on Instagram. But I do the same thing with Instagram's filters. Rather than saying, here's the filter, you can go in and do, brightness, sharpness, all those things. And really the point of that is, what's the story you're trying to tell? I'm going to put a link in here.
I am already doing it, Ed. Too late.
No.
Oh,
Put
no.
another link in there. So
Okay,
the other link that I have, for those of you that are looking for more resources to use Instagram as a business, there's my Pinterest board. There are 56 pins. Now, granted, I'd say half of them are over 2 years old now. So again, takes some of the older ones with a grain of salt if they're getting a little old. But there's everything in there from as a business, what are the top 5 things to get community engagement? There's 4 words you need to know for Instagram business. This is if you want to dive in a little deeper, just go through the board. It's just resources that I found, and for whatever reason, at the time when I found these, I went, oh, that seems to be good, and I'm trying to use it on Instagram for business, and it seems to be helping. I mean, there's even articles in there that'll say, here are the filters that get the most likes. It's going to depend completely on your audience, along with the ones that here are the best times to post on Instagram. And you guys have heard me say that before. That's a great place to start. And then after you see if those work for you, start experimenting out. But if you have no idea, try and post when it says, here's the best time to post. So just a resource out there of different things I've found over the past 3 or 4 years on Instagram. And just Some of it I'm still using in presentations today. Like one of the first ones, 5 ways to rock Instagram for business. It talks about how Starbucks did a campaign of show us your they did the cup with when they were working with Disney. Okay, Sharpie did a campaign. How are you using Sharpie? Behind the scenes, we've talked about that. That's always a great one to do, especially if you have a company that you can show the things that nobody ever sees before. Okay, Levi's did a giving back to the community, so they Instagrammed them out in the community how they're giving back. And then just my favorite is just a basic photo contest of using the hashtag. Yep, we'll have to do a whole blab on that still.
Yeah.
On how to test
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also dropped a link to the Enlight photo app in there, which is the one that it has become my go-to. It is phenomenal. So if anybody wants to play around, if you haven't found what works for you yet, check out Snapseed and Enlight. They're both really good resources.
I used Flipagram last week, and that was super fun. So we've started using that a little bit on the X37 page.
Cool. And the other things that I love, and Instagram on Android pushes their third-party app for it, is collages.
Oh, collages. Yeah.
And I can't think of what theirs. I was using one for a while, and
I think it's boring.
Here's where I love collages, is that there are sometimes when, let's say we're at ACCT and I want to do an Instagram layout. That's what it is. And I want to talk about the exhibitor hall, but at the same, like I was at a car show. I was at an event this weekend, and I was at a car show, and I did not have the time to flood. Here's every cool car that I'm seeing, and on top of it, I want to be in the moment, and I want to share with my users if here's where I am. And so I found layout to work really nicely, where I took like my top pictures I had taken in the past hour and put them up. But now and then the idea is then later on this week, I'm going to pick 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 of those. So everybody knows I was at this car museum on Saturday, but now I'm going to post a couple of them this week that I might go in with Snapseed or some of these other apps and put it out there. But that's my story. Here's where I am in the moment. And now here's the follow-up to this story as, and again, when I've been on vacation in Disney, we're going around to all the different places to show the different decorations at Disney. I don't know that everybody wants to see all of these. It's like getting home from the old slideshow, and here are the 45 pictures I took from today on cruise day number 1, right?
You know what? As long as you have your whiskey wagon, I'd be okay with that, Ed.
That's a new name for it, the whiskey wagon. I like that too. So
hey, Haley. Yeah, one thing just to throw out there on collages really quickly, Enlight, you can do all of the super in-depth editing and add text and do collages all within the same app. So that's another thing I like about it, is you don't have to bounce between things. Yeah.
Alexis, what were you saying
the link that I just posted is of a shot that I did of a mosaic that I made. And it's hard to tell when you just look at the mosaic that it's actually made from gift cards. And so that's why I love that collage, is that I can show this is what it came from, but this is what it turns out to be.
Yeah, and that's part of the story, right? Because if you just have the end product, you don't have the full story. So, again, and that's part of and I think that where I'm pulling, I mean, you guys have heard me say before, know how to use a platform first as a user. But where it's really coming from is over the past week of diving into Anchor FM.
Anchor!
I love Anchor. Freaking love Anchor. We took 15 minutes last week to talk about it. You will soon.
Why don't you like it? Alexis, you don't like it?
She doesn't have iOS.
I'm spending money to go get an Apple product just to get Anchor? No way.
No, absolutely not. Not just to get Anchor, but I thought you like chose against it for a reason. No, I understand. It'll be available.
Oh, I've chose against Apple.
Well, I mean, if you don't like Apple, I don't care about that. Yeah. But yeah, give Anchor a chance when you can. Are you on Anchor, Mandy?
Yes, I am.
You follow me on both of my accounts, don't you?
I follow you on everything. I think.
I'm clapping over here.
Yay!
Thank you. Give me a request and I'll sing you something, okay? On the Peanut Leopolis account. That's great.
Yeah, She made it to the big time. Jill Com made a request for her last night, and she sang it. Nobody can see you
I
doing
know.
this.
I'm over here doing jazz hands.
We've got to figure out.
All right.
a better
Yeah,
way
I
to
know.
both
My
be on at the
my
same
camera
time.
actually. What happens with my camera? There's I have a glitch on my particular laptop, which isn't going to be a problem much longer. Once I go on camera once, if I go off camera, I can't get back on unless I reboot the whole system. It's not just a
Ugh.
refresh issue
Well,
yet.
that's annoying.
But this computer is departing because it's a company computer and I just lost my job, so it's going. Computer must be returned to the company.
Congratulations on the opportunity for new transitions.
Can't wait. Can't
Yeah.
wait. So I am
Yeah.
actually going to sign off at this point because you can't see me anyway, and I have to keep myself muted because Ed, echoes, and I feel like I'm just being cut out of the conversation completely. So I'll see you guys
sorry.
next time. No, it's not your fault. It's all Ed. He's like, mute. Blame
He's
it all on
really
Ed. It's so
mean that way,
easy.
you know.
So easy. So take care, guys. Thanks for chatting. We'll see you again soon. All right.
See you, Gina.
Okay, and on that note, you didn't kick yourself out though. There you go. All right.
Oh,
So on that note, I
man.
think we are going to wrap up because it is. I like to end at an hour. just
And
to
we're
make it so people
wandering.
can watch and we
Yeah.
are so wandering at this point.
Yeah,
But
we're
we've been
wandering.
wandering through Instagram. So I want to
Yeah.
thank everybody that was in here. And again, stick around for another couple minutes. We'll do an after blab just to make sure if there are other questions. But I want to wrap up the recording. So thank you, Mandy. Thank you, Alexis. Thank you, Gina. Thank you, Renee. Thank you, Alma, for the great questions. Thank you, everybody,
Yeah.
for participating. If you are, I'm going to say that after we record, so I don't give this out to everybody. So you got to be here live to hear the next thing I'm going to say.
Ooh.
Yeah, the secret
Mama.
thing. All right. So with that in mind, we will see you next week, 12:30. If there is something that you would like us to talk about, especially from this is a platform that I would like to know more about before I could even consider marketing on it. I need to know about this platform. Direct message me on Twitter. Put it in the comments. Email me. My email is ed@experientialed. I wish I could type faster, but you can find me on every platform that's out there. I believe is at Experiential Ed, except for Anchor. I just found out that I'm Ed Kaplan on Anchor because they don't do handles yet. But I tried to put Experiential Ed in there, so if you search for me, you should be able to find me on there also if you're on Anchor. So thank you, everybody. We will see you next week, and I'm going to let the two of you say goodbye before I hang up this time.
All right. Thanks.
Bye,
Bye,
guys.
everyone. See you later.